the program team, and we're looking for 2 more members to join us. So if you're interested in finding out what this means as far as a time commitment, I'd love it if you gave me a phone call or dropped me an email or sent an email to programs@vcpg.org, and we could talk about it. We'd love to have a couple more people join the group so we can keep putting together, meaningful programs and workshops for the Guild. I'm not sure that everybody's paid attention. There was an email that went out from Programs and Workshops back, I think, at the beginning of February, and then in the newsletter, Stacy introduced a new face-to-face or in-person activity that the Guild's piloting in 2024, and it's called Pottery Jams. And pottery jams are meant to be informal gatherings of a small group of members, 12, 15, 20 people, not necessarily a workshop, but a time to get together around a particular interest. Stacy's hosting our first pottery jam. It's going to be on March 16th. We have a visiting artist, Kathleen Royster, who's coming from Helper, Utah. She does mashima, and she also works in functional porcelain, tableware kinds of things. This jam has been advertised now for almost 6 weeks. We have 2 spots left. The nominal registration fee is there to cover the expenses of paying for Kathleen's time. It's a potluck. We're going to be there all day. It's really an opportunity to hang out with other Guild members, share your knowledge and experience, tell stories, listen to Kathleen's stories, watch her do some demos. It's not a workshop, okay? It's really meant as a time to get together with other practice potters and talk about your work. This is a thing that we've heard at various events, activities, and from members about wanting to get together with other potters and talk about their work. So as of the start of this meeting, there were 2 spots left. We want to try to offer 5 more of these during the year, which means we're going to be looking for members who have a studio space or other kind of community space that they can open up and, host a program at. And if it's something you're interested in, again, send an email to programs@vcpg.org or give me a call and let's talk about it. Because this is, I think, a really exciting way to get people together and sharing information, skills, etc. So again, it's on the 16th of March. It's a Saturday, 10 to 5. Potluck dish and some kind of nominal registration fee. The last thing before talking about tonight's program is we've got the pit fire scheduled for May 19th. It's a Sunday. It's a Royal Verde Park. It's where we held it last year. Everybody that was there said, we got to do this again. We've got to make it an annual event. So we heard you. It's happening. It's scheduled. There's going to be prep sessions on Saturday, the 18th in Ojai and Ventura. So we'll have all the fixing to get your pots ready for the firing on Sunday. It's, starts at like 7:30 in the morning on Sunday, goes till we take the pots out and get stuff cleaned up. So it's potluck breakfast and lunch. We're asking again for a small fee. It's mostly to cover the cost of the wood. So if you're interested, register for both the event and the prep session if you want the prep session. But you can't just register for the prep session and think you're coming to the firing. All right. So with that said, I'd like to introduce tonight's program. Jeff Rottman is with us from Michigan. So he's on Eastern Standard Time. So our 7:11 is his 10:11. Jeff had a need in his own pottery practice to come up with a tool to help himself be more productive with the work he wanted to do. And so he's created what's now known as GR Pottery Forms. He's a homegrown company. He's a designer. He's a maker. His passion is clay, and his passion is helping others do do well at the work that they do. Um, he's got a wife, he's got 3 kids who are probably home waiting for him while he's sitting in his warehouse with us tonight. So, with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Jeff, and it's yours. He's going to make a
All right.
presentation and then answer questions.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. What a wonderful introduction. And I'm really grateful that I can have an excuse to come to the studio after 7 o'clock at night. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is where this is my favorite time of night and favorite place to be mostly. And the kids I know are home safe and so they're all good. So, and yeah, so as Claude said, I was from 2005 to 2016, I owned a community studio and did production pottery, did classes, and in 2005 I had lost a like what I call a paycheck job, and it kind of forced me into transition to do what I really was enjoying and enjoy is pottery. So yeah, so the economy in 2005, 2008 really kind of helped me kind of launch this kind of into the pottery world, and quickly had to kind of figure out a way and kind of, as you know, with clay, you kind of keep finding solutions to overcome. And it was right about 2005 is when I started using the forums pretty regularly too. It was the Food Network was really popular, and it was really, I know you guys on the West Coast have probably had it a little bit quicker than us in the Midwest, but we you know, the Asian cuisine was really coming on strong, and making square plates and Asian style shallow serving plates was really kind of a new thing at that time. So thankfully I was able to make some, I figured out this wood that worked really well, MDF, the fiberboard, and it worked just the same as plaster. And so I was able to use those forms to create square and rectangular plates, and then therefore get into a lot of bigger shows without a lot of experience, because I had this really kind of body of work really quickly. It all kind of matched really well. The glazes matched well, and I come from kind of a marketing background too, so I knew kind of what colors people were interested in at the time, and kind of had a kind of a leaf pattern was a lot of most of the work that I made really popular here in the Midwest, and then a kind of a purple and green combination that worked really well, kind of more modern feel, and had a kind of semi-matte glaze application. So yeah, so since 2005, it's been kind of a crazy time to get to where I'm at. But now I have GR Pottery Forms and sells all over the world, and have 5 full-time employees, and yeah, so it's pretty crazy how it's kind of snowballed into this. But really, I think I was part of president of the local guild, so I know a lot about what you guys are up to, and who you are in a sense. It's and I love being part of the guild. And this the last couple of years I've kind of stepped away a little bit, but have been involved with our guild here for 15, 18 years or so. So yeah, so I love this opportunity to be here with you. So I was just going to kind of explain a couple things, do a quick couple demos. If you have any questions, I love to answer those. And I think part of the reason I'm here is as I travel around, I love to come to studios. And one time when I was in the LA area for the Aardvark open house, I believe, and Sharon Field invited me to come to her studio, and so I didn't really know her at the time. Kind of put the thing out there, and now we've kind of developed a little bit of a friendship. Every time I come into town, visit Sharon and her studio, and so I'm actually coming in the end of March, actually the beginning of in April. It's, I think April 7-ish, I think ish. That's a Sunday that I'll be at Sharon's. So I think she's going to try to put a little event together, and hopefully kind of restart her studio. She's kind of closed her studio pretty much to other people since the pandemic. So hopefully that'll be a little encouragement to to offer that at another studio for people again. But so yeah, so I hope to be there. And but yeah, and I have some other stuff I wanted to talk about in that when on that trip, and I'll talk about that at the end. So I'll try not to get too sidetracked to talking about other things. But yeah, so I just want to quick talk about what the forms are if you're not familiar. And I know most of you are experienced potters, so you know this really became something that I think it's something that really works well for probably the most for beginners, but really for all levels, even professionals. It really is a way to kind of systemize your work and kind of if you want to repeat things over and over again. I think the biggest benefit to a production potter is that it or a studio potter is that it is a really nice way to make dinnerware. Um, it helps to systemize things. It helps to kind of take away those variables that we have when clay is thick or too thin, or even in the drying time, the support during that drying time. So that's really what it's all about. We have probably 120 different sizes, shapes of different forms. So from like a butter stick style dish or little tray, olives or whatever, to rectangles, circles, ovals, all kinds of different options for making small, shallow serving plates. We do have, and so I know some of you were on the ClayShare con, the online workshop that happened last week, and I showed a bowl, little thing I made. So we do have bowls as well, but really, especially if you're an experienced potter, these forms are really not the best to make bowls because you're limited on the angle and such. Where thing with bowls is they're really kind of deep, kind of um, places to hold food. So this is really a great option for, as I said, shallow, kind of real decorative lip type work. And so, yeah, so I'm going to start with making two things, and the kind of the fancy, a little more complicated application is I have a wheel attachment. It's an attachment that will hook to a wheel, and that will help you to develop plates. So I think maybe for more experience, most people, I should just say most people are interested in this wheel attachment. And so I call it the WAH, which stands for wheel attachment. Not that complicated. And what it is the system comes with three different parts. It comes with the master part, which has a hole in the center, and the hole in the center is put this little piece of wood, and then the wood will then house the forms that have a hole drilled in the bottoms of them, just the round forms. So this then I can attach to a potter's wheel by these two things. One is this is a favorite thing that I figured out, thankfully, is that you can push it to the end and you rotate and it drops right down. So it's a great way if you have some big bats in your studio that you have a hard time getting your bat to line up. Take a router and just route that hole to the outside edge of one hole, and then that will really help you to find find the bat pin and then have it drop in and say registered in the other single hole. So this system, also comes with the system. It's really just a prep bat, but I think it's really critical and really important for the beginning part of it and the end part of it. So yeah. So those are the three parts. It's a fairly easy system. And then currently we have about 15 or 18 different round sizes that will fit that have holes pre-drilled into the form. So just before starting here, I rolled on a slab of clay, about a little more than a quarter inch thick, and put it on one of these I call it, it's got a fancy name, it's called a wah board. So the wah board is really just a way to kind of, it systemizes things so everything kind of works together. So I'm easily distractible and have a hard time staying on task. So anything that kind of pulls me in really helps me. And so if all these parts are made of the same material, they're the same size, it really helps me to kind of to not get distracted. So I'm just gonna make, I'm not gonna use the leaf we have lots of I have with this whole bunch of team here now. We have a bunch of videos online, so you're a lot more to kind of check out and explore. Facebook is probably the easiest place to find videos because if you go into the GR Pottery Forums page, you'll find a section that says videos, and then you can scroll down to a topic because Facebook forces you to put description, and so it has a description of what those videos might be of. So there's so many different ways, and I think this is what I have been amazed as a potter. From the beginning, I thought that everybody's going to make similar work, and but it's really like a potter's wheel. Like we all kind of start with cylinders and then create and make all these decisions and end up with a piece that we ended up making. And so so very similar to the forms. The forms are really just this foundation, and there's all these different decisions you can make along the way to kind of alter things. So here what I did was I just used my form as a measurement to just draw a line on the slab. See that? And reason I did that was so that I could know where I wanted to put my texture. So I want to put some texture out on the lip. And so I'm just going to use one of these MKM rollers. You know, there's lots of fun textures out there. And I'm just going to add some texture to the lip of this plate. And it's kind of nice. It's really nice to have the wheel turning, because then I can kind of quickly kind of alter things if I want. So what I did was I just made this little texture on there, and hopefully that'll be on the ring of my plate here. And so now I eliminated that mark that I made to do the measurement, and now I'm going to just kind of make sure this is centered down here. Looks pretty good. And I removed that mark. You could make marks, but if I don't quite line this up perfectly, it gives me a little forgiveness. I might actually add some line on the outside here. Oops. Let me finish my line. Just give me some texture, but this is outside of that area where can tell on me if I didn't quite line it up right. So now I can take that center part, put it on top, take the master part, it's on upside down, and then I can do a little flip. So, and really, this isn't, I'm not here to say, oh, this is this grand idea that I came up with, I'm so smart, blah, blah, blah. It's really just a way to systemize making dinnerware. And really, in my mind, when I was doing shows, I so wanted to have dinnerware missions. And after having some experience, I'm really glad I didn't have many. Because as you know, it gets kind of stressful with it's really easy to make a couple plates, but to make 16 or 36 that are all identical can be kind of a real stressful thing and kind of take the fun out of it. So this really kind of systemizes things for me. So if something were to go wrong with one of the plates, it's real easy to make another one. And so it really kind of, again, this helps you to kind of repeat that process over and over. It just develops the system kind of a way to kind of form the clay and then give it structure as it dries. So it's interesting though that when I first started making these, I was making them for myself. And so when I eventually started selling them to people, I just assumed that they were going to think like I was going to think. And they were going to use them like I was going to use them. And when I really made them first, I really was making them so I could have a decorative lip on the outside. So the center part was just the support, and it was just the center part where the food was going to go. So that way I could alter the outside, and I could decorate that. And by adding that lip on there, I could sell them for probably double of what I could if there was just a simple lip. And so I quickly learned that they were more favorable to have kind of more of a decorative lip. But then it became a little bit tricky for that lip to stay stable and not have a lot of movement to it. So I have a lot of different things that I have. So when I first started, as I said, I was working for myself, doing it for my own, and I was started teaching. Next kind of step was I started teaching classes in my studio, and then people wanted to use my tools, and so I had to kind of quickly come up with tools that they could use that weren't my tools. And so one of them was, which everybody kind of makes pokes fun of a little bit, is a foot maker, and this is the corn skewer that's kind of straight down on the edges and then bent. So it really helped me to kind of cut the foot. And originally, when I first made that, my tool, I had taken a loop tool and just cut off that, stripped off the end part. So it had two blades that I could then cut through the slab, and I didn't have to spend that time measuring. So, and then, with slabs, you get this kind of really blunt edge, kind of really kind of unfinished edge. And I tried all these different things to Bill Van Gilder has a really nice tool where he took it's an edge rounding tool for woodworking. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get that. I bought the tool, and after like 3 months of cleaning up groggy leather hard clay, it wore out super fast. Then I got an old hotel card and drilled a hole in it, made a little loop, and that like within weeks on this leather hard clay was worn out. And again, I didn't want distractions of having to make something new. So then I realized that if I took mud tools, I had a Kemper tool, a rib that would kind of scrape and make marks and make lines, and so it would wear out quickly. But then when I used the mud tool, the yellow Cheryl rib mud tool, it never wore out. So I'm like, ooh, what if I cut this in half so that I can get to this kind of rounded groove, and then that groove I can clean up this leather hard clay, this edge, and it won't wear out. And magically, it really did work. And so now you can buy these from me pre-cut. I have had lots of conversations with Michael Sherrill about this. Actually, he was so gracious. I got to spend like 4 hours in the studio one morning, like the day before the curator from the Smithsonian was coming to do a studio talk with him, and he spent 4 hours with me talking about these tools. And he's like, "Oh yeah, just keep cutting them in half because it's way too expensive to build a die to make a new tool for now. So, we need to sell 100,000 of these little ribs to really for it to pay off. So I want you to keep cutting them in half." So I did have I do have his blessing on cutting those in half. But and so all this side conversation gets to this tool that I'm using now, which is a map compass. And I'm using this as a measuring tool. And again, I want to be able to repeat something over and over and over and over again. So what this map compass does is I replaced the pencil with a dowel and kind of smooth edge so it doesn't make that much of a mark on the clay. But it also has this locking mechanism that has this gauge on the side. that I can repeat this lip over and over again. I don't know if you can see quite well with that camera. So I drew a line on there, which shows me where the lip is going to be. And for now, I can cut on that line. And I'm going to actually cut a strip of clay to use as my foot. When I first started doing this, I was thinking I was going to have to extrude a coil or roll out a coil, but then I was like, usually I always have an extra amount of clay that I can then just take right from the outside. It's the same consistency, the same thickness. And then I can just add this right on the top of my plate here. And because the clay are the same consistency and same moisture content, I don't really even need to score or slip. It's also a flat surface, so there's not really a gravitational pull working against me. So now I can just take my sponge and a little pressure and form my foot. So there's not a lot of trimming that I need to do the next day. And there's not a lot of clay recycling the day after that. It's all kind of established here for me. So now, within no time, I can kind of develop the style, the system of plates. And you can spend all kinds of different time giving it some different details. I like to add a little lip ring here. Kind of grab here. And then what we can do is we can lift it off the wheel. I'll use a glaze bottle maybe sometimes, just to kind of give it a real even, help us kind of manage that clay. And then basically what will happen is the plate now release, and that's another advantage of having that hole, is that we can then release the clay. And you can see you got that texture on that lip as well. So now, thank you, Amico. Now all I can do is I can leave that center underneath there and add another part to be able to now push down this lip, the rim, just the rim, not the whole lip. And if I just push along this line along this outside edge here, it develops a nice even angle. And I can press it all the way down to the board here so that it's consistent and has good pressure. So I can kind of systemize that angle, that drying time. So I made this was an 1 3/4 inch lip. So now I have this nice little kind of salad plate. And so you could, depending on what size you want, what size lip you want, we now have these, they're called RD2s, which stands for rounded 2-inch edge. So if you wanted to make a real kind of non-edged, non-defined line plate, a lot of modern cooking stores have them. So this really depends on what kind of now profile of plate that you want to use. Any questions about that? I think I have like about 10 more minutes. Is that accurate? So,
Jeff,
Good.
Jeff, I have a question.
sure.
It's Rebecca, and I saw you at ClayCon, Wes,
Oh, good. Yeah.
and
All right.
also at Sharon's.
Okay.
I picked up your wah and some of the other things at
Yeah.
Sharon's. Thank you
Oh,
very
yeah.
much.
Uh-huh.
Now, what's the best time? How long do you leave it on the form? And I did buy two that I could stack from you for pipe plates. And
Alright.
I have a little bit of trouble getting the bottom one out. Do you have
There you
any
go.
advice you can give me?
Definitely. Great question, Rebecca. Good to see you. And yeah, really you want to leave the clay on there until it's a leather hard where the forms are just gonna fall out. And so probably depending on the time of the year, sounds like you guys have been having a lot of rain right now, so maybe there's a lot more heat and
Yeah.
humidity. So it might lengthen that time. But I typically hear without a lot of air movement in the room that it's being stored, it usually takes 4 to 6 hours or so for it to be then released from the clay. So it's it's a little and that's I think, when I first started making these, I figured I had 160 forms for my production just for me to use. And so like I had like 8 of most things, some 16 of some things, and so it really was a way to like if I wanted to make um like say 4 pie plates, I would need to have 4 sets of forms to make 4 pie plates in one day. So that might be a disadvantage for you to, because especially with one, we get anxious of like we want to see what it looks like, what's happening, and we want to try to get those the clay off in the form as soon as possible so we can use it again and also see what the clay looks like. But you really want to leave it on the form until it's basically you can pick up the clay with one finger and and the whole piece moves, it doesn't flex at all. So
Okay.
that's really so unfortunately probably need to leave it a little bit longer. So or make them if you have varieties of shapes, you could make a variety of different sizes and then each day. And yeah, so it's I think a lot of times especially schools and teachers kind of get worried about the cost of buying 16 molds, right, for a classroom of 12 people or whatever. And really, if you think about it, like it's way cheaper than buying like potter's wheel or another piece of large equipment in your studio. So it can really quickly recoup its cost if you're selling your work or doing shows or galleries or such. So yeah, I hope that's kind of a probably more answer than you really were looking for, but hopefully that answers.
No,
um,
the knowing, I think I tried to take it off a little earlier than 4 to 6 hours.
Okay, yes, yeah, and I mean that's really common. I know Jessica from Glacier, she shows videos of it almost looking like she's removing it like immediately. And when you ask her about it, she'll say, "Oh no, it's sat in there for a long time." Well, why don't you put that in your video? Because you're fooling everybody. But yeah, so it's really yeah, you want, and that's really the benefit of the form are uh, one is that support, but two, they have this 45-degree angle that as the clay dries, it's going to start to lift up. So if you have a real steep angled form, we have new forms that have a little steeper angle. These you have to remove immediately because that's the angle as it shrinks inward is going to crack, right? So thankfully, with these 45-degree angle uh, forms, the clay just kind of lifts up as it dries and shrinks inward. It kind of comes up the mountain. So, and that was something that was just thankfully by chance that when I first was making square and rectangle pieces, I decided to make the angle 45 so that I could flip the board and wouldn't have to cut it again. So, but over time, I realized that having that angle is really helpful for drying time. So usually you don't really want to leave the forms on for longer, the clay on the forms for longer than 24 hours. Some people will, and I think different clays, you may have different rules, but for me, I believe that with hand building and slabs, that the important thing is that it's drying evenly. It can dry evenly in 10 minutes or dry evenly in 10 hours. So the point is that all parts of the clay are drying equally. So if and I think you'll see like a lot of times when people are making big giant pots, they have a torch and they don't just torch an area, they kind of put it on a wheel and make it spin so that it's drying that piece as evenly as possible. Same with slabs. Even the better. Thanks that you mentioned it. I haven't made one of these in a little while, but it's funny you mentioned it. I'm going to make a pie plate with this next one. So a lot of the forms will stack on top of each other to make deeper depths. And if you go to ClayShare, you can watch. There's all these videos from the last 4 days. It's all online, ClayShareCon.com, and there's a bunch of videos from all different types of people, all different styles of work, from like China painting on disc to making big giant pots. So yeah, you should go check it out. And on the second day, I made some bowls with adding these RD2s to the originals that make these really wonderful bowls. So since I don't have much time, I'm just going to make this pie plate. It's one of my favorite things, and I think hopefully as a traditional functional potters, you'll appreciate pie plates. I always appreciate pie for sure. But yeah, oops, what am I doing here? I was going to measure, I thought I was going to measure, put some textures, but this one I don't really need to. And so I don't even really need to make sure that it's lined up. I'm just going to, actually, I'm not even going to, flip it on let's put the clay on top of here. Well, this is the right side up as opposed to like flipping it. So if I don't have to worry about inside texture or placement of that texture or design, I can just drape the clay right on top of the form. Maybe if you need me to have a 5-minute time, let me know when I have 5 minutes left. I could talk all night.
I
Well, what
have
I'm
a
gonna do-
question. I have a
Sure.
question about the rib, because I actually saw your demonstration and I contacted Mud Tools to see if I could buy
Oh,
the
funny, yeah.
rim. Yeah, I know. But do you
No,
just
good.
literally cut it in half? I mean, what do you use to
Yes.
cut it in half?
I just use a kind of industrial scissors and cut it right in half. And then I use a Dremel to kind of round off those inside kind of corners where you cut it straight. And here is a special bonus, because you guys are all potters and probably make your own tools. This is what I really was talking with Michael Sherrill about, was having one that has different size grooves on it. And so this one, I just took my Dremel and made grooves in the side. So if I have a different thickness of slab, I can put it through that way. But yeah. So we sell them pre-cut if you want. Otherwise, you can make one yourself. Michael Sherrill came to me at Nsika last year. He was all excited. It's like, Jeff, I think I got an answer. And he's a wheel thrower really, and he also does this work where he extrudes clay. Colored clay now is his newest thing, and so he's not making slab plates, and like the rest of us. But he came and he had a little red one, and he put like a O-ring around it so it cupped the rib, so it makes this kind of U-shaped form, and it works really good if you're going to do it on wet clay. And I told him, "Wow, that's really nice, Michael, but that's not really what I need. I need that. I need the yellow, particularly yellow, and I need to have some resistance. And the yellow one, I think, wears out a lot less than the red one does. The red one's a little softer and therefore prone to wearing out a little quicker. So I just put these forms on loosely. There's gonna, just like casting, if you've got anybody's a caster out there, you know you're gonna get those casting lines. You're gonna get these this line that separates the two forms, and with this wood product you can't get it thicker, and it will be super heavy. So you really could just make your own plaster mold or I'm thinking here. Yeah, so I think it's really just a good way to kind of systemize things and kind of give it another way for all this to kind of work on its own. The other advantage of using a form to develop these round shapes on a wheel is that you have this wood to press against. And so you can add texture to the slab even in a three-dimensional form. It's obviously the easiest and nicest to do it when it's flat and two-dimensional, but if you want to, and then we can kind of use the wheel turning to kind of clean up this texture here. Make some decorative lines in there. And then we can cut our lip. And this is a pie plate, so I'm not going to put a foot on here. I think this is sometimes why I choose to make the pie plate in these demos, is it's a 5-minute project instead of a 10-minute project. But with the idea. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. We're just one here, so if there's any questions, I can answer those for you. So I don't want to take all your time up. But while you're thinking about questions, I'm coming to California the end of March and in April, so that I can hang out with these 6 Korean artists that are coming to the US for a couple of weeks. So they're going to be doing some workshops in San Francisco, the Bay Area, and then they're going to work their way up to LA the middle of that first week of April. And I know they're doing a variety of different demos at the Still Life Studios, the one in Santa Monica and the one in LA, the downtown location. And I don't know if you've been to those locations or not, but they're full of this kind of young energy of clay. So I love to go there for this energy that they kind of, this LA energy that everybody in the world talks about. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know what it is, but being close to the ocean, as you guys know, or that California lifestyle, I don't know. It's just something about the energy. But these 6 Korean artists are mainly studio potters, and they have a little more recognition in Korea. They oftentimes, so this is a little different scenario there. The government a lot of times will support artists, so you have to be at a certain level. And I was fortunate enough to go with Mickey Shim, who's kind of translating for these guys. She has a tour that she has one coming up in September again. That's the one I went on the very first one, and it was amazing. It was unbelievable. So if you have the money and the time, it's an unbelievable food and pottery experience. So look up Mickey Shim, and that will give you all the information for some of these tours. Or Still Life, there's not a lot. She doesn't have a lot about I think she's promoting the one in the Bay Area, because that's where she's from, and then the LA studios are promoting their own, the ones here in LA. So, or in LA. So, but I hope to be at here, Sharon, on, let's see, what day would it be? The 7th, I think it's April 7th, Sunday, April 7th in the afternoon is the plan, so. I'm
So
gonna be
Jeff,
doing,
maybe I
oh,
can
go
get
ahead.
with you afterwards and try to get some of this information so that we can send it out to members.
Sure, yeah,
Great.
and I kind of, it also might even be good too, I think it's on recording, so maybe you'll watch it later, but, I know those workshops have very limited, quantity of, participants, so they may already even be full, but,
Okay.
anyway, yeah, but I can definitely do that, so. And, I love, just adding a little, crimped edge to the piece, but yeah, it kind of takes a little bit of the stress out of making in a sense because you have that, because you have support from the form. And it kind of defines that edge for you. And so this gives you lots of options to tell the story and create the art that you want to create if you want to make a functional work, especially shallow work, you know. As you know too, like you could really easily throw this pie plate and it wouldn't have the line in the middle that you have to clean out when it's leather hard, from the forms being two pieces. But it gives you an option too if you want to systemize your pie plates as well. So yeah. So I hope I gave you some inspiration of using molds and forms to develop your work. And if you have any questions, I'd love to share and help people in their clay journey. So yeah.
Jeff, I had something to ask you because I've always been curious. I've seen you in your studio many times watching your demos and stuff, especially on ClayShare and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a workshop that you make all of these, or do you farm that out to someone else to make them? You probably designed them, but who does that for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, so that is a good question. In the very beginning, I was using a table saw when they were square and rectangle, and I figured, you know, if I needed to make more, I needed to have somebody else help me do that cutting. And I always thought about having my own machines here, but when I found the guy to do all the cutting, it was it was almost, it would cost me the same to remove the debris and material, dust and material, and just maybe the interest on the machinery. So I've been farming out the work since the beginning, pretty much the beginning, not the very beginning, but close to after the beginning, to a company here in Michigan. And we're in Grand Rapids here. We're the furniture capital. So there's all these little wood shops that are supporting the big furniture manufacturers. And all they do is cut wood all day long. So they're the experts. So it's great that I can have an expert. And even during the pandemic, they were like top of the list of getting MDF, where if I was getting it myself, I would probably have been on the bottom of the list. So we didn't even really run out of material, or even it didn't even grow in cost during the pandemic. So it was really fortunate, yeah, as a small little business to make that all kind of happen. So yeah, because everybody during the pandemic was looking for things like this too, right? So I didn't have to slow down, so it was good. But yeah, good question. Yeah. So yeah, I do. We bring it into they kind of raw cut it, and then we clean up the edge a little bit and put a stamp. We drill a hole maybe in the center of the round ones, and make sure that they're all looking good shape, and then ship them out. So we usually have a pretty good stock on hand. So
Yeah, and I was going to say, because you did show that demo on Clayscape about how you had the little pinholes in the center, and that's a good way of that you can make your own, and you brought that up. And so when you have two pieces like you have on that pie plate, if you drill a hole and put like a little peg in there, you can actually hold those pieces together and they don't
sure.
slide around. So that was a great demo that you did on that show too.
Oh, good, good, yeah. Yeah, there's so many options, so many ways, and you know, even I highly encourage people to like even buy the forms that I have and then alter them for what they want. If you have a
Yeah.
little like a laser cutter, you can cut emblems in the bottoms to make embossed logos for restaurants and stuff, or you know, all kinds of fun options that you can do. So
Well, I love your forms. I use a few of them myself and I teach and they have some there too. So I'm trying to get
Yeah.
them to use those. So
Oh,
it's a
good.
great service. You've offered a great opportunity for a lot of potters and even newbies where they don't really know how to do it. I can show them how to do a plate very quickly because they can't throw a plate, but I can certainly use your forms and they can help them get what they want.
Yeah.
So thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you for supporting
Thanks for being,
this.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thanks for the
Gloria?
demonstrations. This was great information.
I think Gloria might be trying to ask a question. I see her. Oh, I
You
can't
hear you,
I don't know if
Gloria. No.
I don't know if you're on, don't think you're on mute. Oh, it must be your speakers because we can't hear you. Oh. She's giving a sign language. Never mind, I think.
You can type it
Oh.
into chat. Oh, she might
Uh-huh.
sign out and sign back in again. All right, Lauren, somebody else had a question. Lori, no?
No, I didn't have a question. I was just saying thank you for all the information.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
I'm thinking Gloria might sign back in. That's what would be my guess. But any other questions out there?
Looks like somebody in the chat asked when you take it off the mold, and we kind of went over that a little bit, but yeah, make sure it's leather hard before removing it from the form, because it really also helps that it's upside down and that moisture, in a sense, gravity is taking that moisture to the bottom and helping those clay particles align. I think is also helpful. So.
It also helps because it doesn't keeps the edges from warping. That's what I found. If I kept it on there a little longer and not take it off too soon, I don't warp the edges. And then because you know that memory goes right back to warping when you get it out of the bisque fire. And you're oh crap.
Yes.
Keep it on there a little longer and you'll be safer and you'll be it'll be better for you in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was wondering about the casseroles that you just started doing.
Yes. These are a thicker form. This is the only one where I got talked into really gluing them together, and it's still really not glued that well. You know, I don't really have a industrial wood shop here, so it's kind of they have pegs in them to hold them together, and they have these little kind of lifters so that you can lift it out of the clay with one hand. So it's a nice way to, again, I'm thinking of the common sizes. This is a 10 by 10 form, which shrinks to most clays around a 9 by 9, like a 9. A lot of recipes are designed for like a 9 by 9 pan. We have one for a 9 by 13 and also just kind of fun little rectangle one. But
Is it a finished 9 by 13 or a 9 by 13 when you're making it? The bigger one.
It's a 10 by 14.
Oh, okay.
Form. So it'll shrink down to 9 by 13 when you put it in the kiln and fire it to the 2 temperatures. Maybe a little smaller than that, but yeah.
And when you're making them, do you make them? Do you drape them over?
There's some really good videos if you search. I basically have to make a big giant slab and then I cut out the corner part of the slab, almost like wrapping a present.
Okay.
And then I flip it over and then compress those corners together, and then make a nice handle on each side, and maybe make a little bit of a lip, and then pull the form out immediately because you don't want the clay to shrink inward and crack. So, but that's what this kind of walled, we call them wallies because it's got a walled edge, 90-degree edge. Yeah, so.
So you're basically creating a pleat in the corners.
Pretty much, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm back again, and I think you can hear me now.
Yes.
So
oh, good. Thank you.
Once you get it off of the form, do you dry it completely upside down or right side up?
Great question. I think it works really well if you don't have especially if you don't have a really wide lip. If you have a really narrow lip, I would definitely, and it's even all the way around, I would dry it upside down. Some people like to use weights, which I don't, I'm kind of doing more production style, so I don't have all these weights around. Have to manage all those weights. So I just let the clay be the weight itself. And I think it really helps to have that lip also out there too. To create
So that
weight.
first one that you did, you would dry that one upside down though.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Until it's leather hard, and then I'd probably make it a stiff leather hard before then I would flip it back over on top of the rim the rim down. And then when it's leather hard, I might make sure that the bottom part of the plate doesn't brown up. I might press it down to it started to kind of crown a little bit. So depending on how wide the bottom is, but yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for getting that volume work.
Other questions? All right. Well, Jeff, thank you for staying up. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for sharing all your resources with us. And hopefully some of us will have a chance to see you somewhere else, or maybe when you're going to be in the area, we can talk with you about doing a workshop for us.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, I'd love to come. Obviously, love to come to California.
All right. Well, let's stay in touch.
Sounds great. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you.
Along.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
now.
you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. And reminders for everybody here, if you're interested in the
Thank
pit fire,
you.
you can go ahead and sign up now. If the registration's open on the website, and I don't know if there's still spaces in the Pottery Jam in March on the 16th, but if you're interested in hanging out with a small group of us and chatting and talking and learning from each other, as well as a guest artist, go ahead to, again, the calendar, March 16th, sign up. Thank you all for coming tonight. Yes.
Somebody interrupted you when you were saying something is now open to register. What is that?
The pit fire.
Okay, thank you.
For registration, May 19th, prep on May 18th. And also, if you're interested in coming to the Pottery Jam and hanging with some of us, the first one's happening on March 16th. Registration's on the calendar. And next month, I think we're going to be able to take you all to this crazy, wonderful place at Moore Park College that has amazing tools for potters to learn how to use. And in fact, one of the things that Jeff shared with us is if you have a laser cutter, you can take a GR form and put your own custom designs in it. And a laser cutter is one of the resources they have in this makerspace. So think about coming next month. It's going to be pretty exciting. So have a good leap year day, everybody, and see you next month.
Is it going to be a Zoom one where you're going to be there and do it by Zoom, or is it going to be an in-person?
No, it's not going to be in person. We're going to do a live stream kind of thing for you, have you a chance to meet people, see the equipment, see some of the things. Maureen Schultz, who some of you may know, but she was involved in doing all the auditing for our clay orders in the past. Maureen is an avid maker at the studio, and she's introduced me to the space, and she's done some really incredible work that supports her ceramics with tools that she's learned how to use there. And mostly it's no cost except your time and your gas to get there. So it's a pretty exciting opportunity. So think about being here. All right.
Thanks, Foz.
Thanks, Foz.
See y'all.
Thanks for a great program, Foz.
All right, people for the program team, if you want to join us.
Thank you, program team.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Foz.
Good night,
Thanks, Foz.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.